Could you please state your name for me?
Bobby D. Cyprian Sr.
When and where was you born?
Born at Atlantic Camp Hospital, 1940, Independent, Louisiana.
What was the name of your parents?
Beatrice, Alexander, and Andrew Cyprian Sr.
Mr. Cyprian, what school did you attend?
Mount Olive Bunny Church School, behind the Mount Olive Church, in a little old building that went from first grade to second.
When did you become involved in the civil rights movement?
In the 60s.
And how did you get started?
Brother Aaron Walker Sr. came and talked to me, and we decided that, and Illinois Jones and Johnny Hampton and a few others, we got together for the Sweetwater Voters League.
And why did y'all form the Sweetwater Voters League?
To educate our people about what candidates were running, bring them in and let them talk to them one-on-one instead of going to the house and offering them $10 and a half pint of whiskey.
Can you recall some of the other members that was involved?
Mr. Alvin Holden was the secretary. Leslie Dupree, Tom Holland. We called him Tut Bunny. I forget it. Oliver Bunny Sr. And a few others. At this time, it just don't ring a bell.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
You said you joined the Bogalusa Civil Rights March in 1967. Please tell me about that.
Early that morning, I got up. I didn't start at Bogalusa. I brought my little car. He had a filling station at Hammer. And Conoco, I think it was Conoco. Trying to think of the name. Conoco filling station. Parked my car, and he drove me to the interstate, under the interstate, and waited till the march come along, and I joined the march just past the interstate on 190.
How old was you at that time?
Oh, let's see. I born in 1940, and 60 would be what? 65 would be what? 67?
Yeah, you was about 25.
25.
So you marched with A.Z. Young.
Yes.
Did you go over to Green Park? What is that, Greenville Park High School?
Yes, we had a meet. They had a meeting that night, and it was on the edge of the campus of Greenville Park High School, right in the off from the football field from the buildings there. We was outside having, and then here come 2 truckloads of Klansmen coming through. I don't know whether they was Klansmen or not, but they were portraying as Klansmen. And later we found out one of them was the mayor's son involved in it, of Hammer. And they shot. Nobody got hit. Everybody took cover. But we did not retaliate with them because our theme was like Martin Luther King. We're going to do it peacefully.
Did you march on to Baton Rouge with them?
Yes.
What was that experience like?
When we got to Walker, Louisiana, I really was afraid. There was trucks with white folks on the back with high-power rifles and hollering, "Nigga, you're not going to make it to the Capitol." And it was pretty frightening back then, and not having anything to, in case if they start shooting, to protect ourselves. But hey, holding below, the marshal, the governor sent some help there. And state troopers and the National Guard came in and marched with us all the way in. It was a trauma experience.
Very intense.
Yes.
Was you scared for your life at that point?
Yes, I really was.
At that time, did you have any reservations about, should I have done this? Should I go?
You start thinking that you really do. Is it worth it? But it had to be done. And Nobody else was wanting to get out and go home or nothing else, and I hung in there with them. Our crowd had got smaller by then.
A lot of people dropped out.
Dropped out before we got to that area. Yeah.
And so you went on to Baton Rouge.
On the Baton Rouge to the state capitol.
And when you went to the state capitol, what was that experience
we
like?
We had a rally, and we had some more people join in with us. And AZ spoke, several other people spoke. And then we dissolved, and I caught one of the guys from Bogalusa back to Hammond.
Have anybody ever interviewed you about the experience?
No. I don't think too many people knows about it. It wasn't concerned back then. Should have been thousands of people out there walking because of the depression we had up on us, but people was afraid. Some people working for people told them, if you go there, you're fired. So, but a few of us took it on. Brother Walker would have been in, but he didn't have nobody to run the station. He didn't close it down, so I took over. I was the vice president of the Sweetwater Voters League.
What was organizing the Sweetwater Voters League like?
It was very interesting because we went out and searched for candidates that was looking towards helping us to elevate the African American people. Governor Edwards was one of our candidates that we promoted very hard. Frank Abbott Jr. was one of the Frank Abbott. We campaigned hard to get him in office, to move Tom Sanders from office that was strictly that I felt was very prejudiced against black people and had no concern for blacks.
Was there any women in the organization?
Later, Brother Aaron's wife came into the organization. A few other women came. Sister Dorothy Hinton got involved in it, especially with the school in Loranger, trying to get the black kids recognized and by the white and quit putting them in the back of the class and all that kind of stuff.
I remember at one time I heard you say that you all had to move from place to place. There was no set place where your meetings was going to be held. Tell us about that.
Well, we had meetings at where I was living at my grandfather at Brother Aaron's house, and we found out the word was getting out where we were going to have our meeting. So we never discussed. They thought we was at this house, but we was at Brother Dupree's house, and then we moved to Brother Oliver Bonnett's house, and then we always mixed it up where they wouldn't know where we were meeting at, because the clans were burning crosses in the air, and someone was telling them where the meet was going to be, but that was among the group with us.
So you had somebody like a informant among the group.
Yeah. And then sometimes we'd meet at the filling station in the back of his filling station with me, especially with the officers and stuff that was involved.
Mr. Cyprian, why is it that people in Tangipahoa Parish in the African American community do not talk about the civil rights movement or the history as it relates to African Americans in this parish?
I don't know whether they're afraid. Look like we always the last one to something happen to someone to get out there, and then for first little bit of first moments when it's fresh, we involved. In my church, I've been trying to get them to set up, and we know that civil rights movement started in the church, in the annex of the church, or the basements of the church. In South Carolina, I was looking at this morning where the 9 that got killed in that church, they was having meetings in the basement. And Dr. Martin Luther King started his movement in the church. And I just can't figure, for the sake of life, why our peoples came. It wasn't that we didn't have educated people. I don't know. The movement started with uneducated people that had third grade. I had the highest high school education in the group. I was the only one with a high school education, but yet we had school teachers that was involved. Now I think they were afraid of losing their jobs and all this, but when it happened, while the movement is not moving anymore, now maybe some gonna get angry with me said it, is that once they saw it and the white folks saw that it was in office, okay, they turn it over to the educated people, and then they could control them, and then the movement died out.
I moved here 15 years ago, and after all my research, I'm finding there's a rich, undocumented history here in the African American community, from Ponchatoula to Kentwood.
Yes.
But I just feel that it's undocumented, it's untalked about, it's not talked about, it's just not. You wouldn't think that the civil rights movement took place here, but it did.
It did. It did. We did a lot of things in getting people involved and educated. Me, I cared, I don't know, counts number of people out of this community and around to the courthouse to register them to vote. I had to recite a paragraph of the Constitution, recite a paragraph of the Gettysburg Address before, and I'd sign their name, and they'd make their exit. Those that could write would sign their name on. That's how we got them registered to vote. Countless number of people in this community.
I feel honored to be sitting in your presence, just talking to you. I feel like I'm talking to a library.
Yeah.
A man that you have given so much, and Mr. Cyprian, I want to say thank you. Thank you for sacrificing. Thank you for putting your life on the line. Thank you for the changes that you made for me today to be where I am. All I can say is thank you.
Well, me, I had no thoughts. I just did it. It needed to be done, and I just got out there and did it. And the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it for people.
You had a couple of crosses burned on your lawn.
Yeah, right up here by the deadbolt.
Was you home that night?
Yes. Shot through the whole house. That's new part of the whole house. I was playing with my baby jacket when the bullets went through the house. My cousin and I jumped out the window, my long-handled Johnson, with my shotgun and fired them in my old car. No.
Mr. Cyprian, at any time, was your grandparents afraid for you?
Yes. My grandmother, Mama Mercy, who raised me, used to tell me all the time, be careful, you're going to get hurt out there. I keep hearing bits and pieces, but the good Lord was with me. Even when I ran for office in 1972, my cards and things is in that picture, in that folder there. We had a meeting at a Minerva building in Unitas, and that was part of my area territory. And when I left the meeting, I spoke out there, Constable, and would have got elected if they'd just stayed and voted for me, and then went on to Southern Homecoming that evening. Many of my own relatives went to the game. Some might have not been concerned. Some might have figured I was going to win it out and out.
Was you the first African American to run for office?
In this area.
Those were some difficult times, wasn't it?
It was.
Do you think about it a lot?
Every now and then, when I see things not going right, when I see we not being recognized as a human and same as anybody else,